Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the commanding officer, United States Ship Fallout Foster, welcome for today's decommissioning and then the tour ceremony. Please join me in appreciation for the fine performance by the Northwest Navy Region Band. Today's ceremony recognizes a passage in the continuing journey of the mighty Paul F. Foster. After 27 years of faithful service to the country, she will continue to serve in a new capacity. Paul F. Foster will transition from an active warship to a test ship that will play a vital role in shaping the Navy of tomorrow. Our ceremony today commemorates that transition and pays homage to the man for whom the ship is named, and the wonderful men and women who have made United States Ship Paul F. Foster the historic ship it is. The ceremony will commence with the recognition of the official party, the playing of our national anthem, followed by the invocation offered by Chaplain Cooper. Our principal speaker for today is Captain David Yoshihara. He is joined in the official party by Mr. Paul Foster, grandson of Admiral Paul F. Foster, and a retired naval officer from the Judge Advocate General Corps. Mr. Robert Foster, the nephew of Admiral Foster, Captain George Sullivan, Paul F. Foster's first commanding officer, Commander Nygaard, commanding officer of Paul F. Foster, and Chaplain Cooper. Ship's company, attend. Will the guests please rise and remain standing for the arrival of the official party, the parading of the colors, and the invocation. Lieutenant Commander, United States Navy retired, arriving. Foster arriving. Captain, United States Navy retired, arriving. Captain, United States Navy, arriving. Parade the colors. Chaplain Schubert will now offer the invocation.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we pray for your divine blessing upon us as we have gathered to bid farewell to a grand lady of the sea. She's been a sister and a mother to many a seafarer. She's a proud lady in her haze gray coat. She bears her years well. We will miss her. For every man and woman who walked her decks, for every engineer who gave her life, for every officer who guided her, we give thanks. May they have fond memories of this lady who brought romance and responsibility in their lives. We ask for the unspoken spirit of Vice Admiral Paul F. Walker, who gave her his name to live on in each of us. We pray that when we are called upon to defend liberty, we will quickly yield the key to all, and necessary to give our all, that others may have the blessings that we now enjoy. May the sacrifice of Vice Admiral Foster and the thousands like him not should be forgotten, but ever be our intent. And now, Eternal Father, be with every sailor, every Marine, their families, and their loved ones. Grant our leaders your wisdom, and grant us your continued presence and love. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Ship Company, operate, ready. Will the guests and official party please be seated? Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to introduce our principal speaker. Captain David Yoshihara graduated from the United States Naval Academy in 1979 with a degree in ocean engineering. His sea duty assignments include USS Reeves, USS Kurtz, and Destroyer Squadron 31. His executive officer tour was on the USS Fight. Captain Yoshihara was commanding officer USS Ticonderoga, and just 2 weeks ago left the Carl Vinson Battle Group on station in 7th Fleet, where he was serving as Sea Combat Commander as Commander, Destroyer Squadron 9. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain David Yoshihara.
Thank you, so, Chuck. Admiral Herring, Admiral Lockhart, Captain here, Captain Myers, veteran, officer, it is indeed an honor to be here aboard a ship that holds special significance for me. It was 27 years ago, as a midshipman fresh off conquering the Hueneme Monument, closing out my fleet year on my summer cruise in San Diego, that I first saw a big brand new ship and began to understand the future of the fleet. Looking at this ship, for the first of its kind on the West Coast, I began to understand the true meaning of American naval dominance. And I did not envision, certainly didn't envision, that I would return here today and have the honor to participate in our final days as the ship of the line. Anyone who believes steel and cable, iron and oil, does not walk the deck plate of USS Paul F. Foster and felt the powerful presence of naval history, American history, in every train and compartment. It is here that you can feel the legacy of American will, shaping our own national destiny and indeed our world events. I'm especially honored to be in the presence of so many great sailors who sailed and fought this great warship, and who know that tangible feeling to which I refer. A ship decommissioning is a bittersweet moment. We are sorry to see a ship of over a quarter century sail over the horizon, and we are proud of the history she has secured for our nation. And it has been quite a history, as the review of Paul F. Foster's accomplishments will attest. Her most recent deployment, the 13th in her storied 27 years, was once again historic in nature. Having started out as a Westpac sailor, I can tell you I enviously watched on the sidelines as the officers and crew completed one of the most memorable deployments experienced by any ship in the last decade since the Arabian Gulf has become our focus. It was like going back in time to see their schedule. Hawaii, Bali, Phuket, Thailand, Cochin, India, Singapore, Hong Kong, Okinawa, Japan, and to top it off, Qingdao, China. Sounds pretty nice, doesn't it? While they hit many ports, though, it was far from a pleasure. The men and women around you did much to make this look very easy. They set the stage for which is now becoming commonplace, but they paved the way in accomplishing the training cycle in a short 3 months. Like their predecessors before them, they met every challenge head-on and with great success. Beyond their superb performance in RIMPAC, SHERM, and annual X exercises, during medical evacuations, on short notice schedule changes, and the historic port visit to Qingdao, which was the first visit to China since the EP3 event a couple years ago, the men and women of Paul F. Foster were sterling in the manner in which they represented their ship, their navy, and their country. Captain, you've done a superb job in training, nurturing, and mentoring this fine group of young men and women. I much admire your saying that you are decommissioning the ship, not the people. It is clear to all that have watched the crew in action that USS Paul F. Foster will never go away, as the ship will always live in these wonderful men and women who call themselves your shipmates. It is only fitting that all their hard work be rewarded by being recognized as a Com Desra 9 Battle League Award winner for 2002. On behalf of my old squadron, Desra 9, I'd like to present that to you now. Chuck, you'd like to step up.
I'd also like to bring forward MA1 Rainford and ET3 Shearer, Desmond 9 Sailors of the Corps.
When a ship like Paul F. Foster has performed as she has, her decommissioning is a cause for celebration. Today's event is a celebration of the life of a great ship. This morning, I want to leave you with the assurance that we are not simply celebrating the past. The fleet of today and the fleet of tomorrow will do justice to the proud history that USS Paul F. Foster has formed in her wake. We could do no less in the preservation of her memory and to further the cause of freedom for which she sailed and fought. I want to thank you for honoring this great ship today and even greater crew with me here. God bless the USS Paul F. Foster, all that sailed in her, and God bless America.
Ship Company, attend. For outstanding meritorious achievement as Commanding Officer, USS Paul F. Foster, from February 2002 to March 2003. Commander Nygaard completed a virtually perfect command at sea tour in which he had a tremendously positive impact, not only on his crew, but on naval tactics and the United States diplomatic relations in China and India. Shortly after taking command, he skillfully led the ship through a flawless training cycle, followed immediately by a high-profile 7th Fleet deployment. Over 6 months, Commander Nygaard took his crew to 15 port visits in 8 countries, achieving an amazing record of 0 liberty incidents. During the deployment, Commander Nygaard's tactical prowess was on display as Paul F. Foster became the class of each exercise in which they participated. During the multilateral RIMPAC, Paul F. Foster was lauded by the task group commander as head and shoulders above his peers. While participating in Known Warrior with a special warfare group, Commander Nygaard designed, rehearsed, and implemented tactics which he later captured in an attack memo, dramatically improving on current surface ship tactics while operating with the U.S. Navy SEALs. He also orchestrated a seamless integration into the Kitty Hawk Battle Group and annual X-14 Gulf with the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force. During historic visits to Cochin, India, and Qingdao, China, Commander Nygaard proved to be the consummate ambassador, single-handedly improving political-military relations through his aggressive and tactical engagement of the media and high-ranking military officials in both countries. The exceptional professional ability, steadfast initiative, and selfless dedication to duty exhibited by Commander Nygaard reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service with this award of the Meritorious Service Medal. Ship's Company, power brigade, rest. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now an honor to introduce the grandson of Admiral Paul F. Foster, Lieutenant Commander Paul R. Foster, Judge Advocate General for United States Navy, retired.
Good morning. I probably will not be able to make it entirely through my comments today without showing some emotion. Emotion was something that you didn't often see from Paul F. Foster. He was a stoic man. One of the memories I have most of him is that as a young boy, he died when I was age 16. But one of the memories I have most of him and his drive for excellence and his desire that his posterity be the best they could be. When we would write him letters, he would return them marked up in red ink with the grammar and the spelling. And he would expect us to be able to make those corrections and give them to Grandpa the next time that we saw him. Well, good morning, Admiral Herring, Captain Yoshihara, Captain Sullivan, Commander Nygaard, men and women of the USS Paul F. Foster, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I have been introduced as Paul R. Foster. I appreciate the opportunity that Commander Nygaard has given me to share some thoughts with you today. In Wichita, Kansas, on March 25th of 1889, was born to Reverend Festus Foster and Lillian Howe, a son who would be given the name Paul Frederick Foster. As I've thought about this, I'm sure that no one present on that occasion could have envisioned that in the year 2003 we would be here today gathered to celebrate the life of Paul F. Foster. As a young boy, Paul F. Foster moved from place to place with his family throughout the Midwest and the Mountain West. His father was, for a time, an itinerant Methodist preacher. At one point, the family found itself in the predominantly Latter-day Saint community of Price, Utah, a coal mining town. As you can imagine, there wasn't a great deal of tolerance towards a proselyting Methodist minister in the heart of Latter-day Saint country, nor was there much affiliation or friendship shown towards the children of that minister. But in these and other experiences that Paul F. Foster had growing up, the seed bed of virtues were planted that would serve him well throughout his life. Lesser men may have succumbed to the bitterness of rejection in youth, but not Paul F. Foster. A final testament to Admiral Foster's forbearance and forgiving nature was given a few days after his death in 1972, when his close friend and confidant, Wallace Bennett, a member of the Armed Forces Subcommittee of the United States Senate, and interestingly enough, a prominent member of the Latter-day Saint Church from the state of Utah, rose to the floor of the United States Congress to eulogize the passing of a great American hero, Vice Admiral Paul F. Foster. Paul F. Foster had the distinction of being the first officer in the history of the United States Navy to ever receive the Congressional Medal of Honor, the Distinguished Service Medal, and the Navy Cross. On the 16th of April 1914, the battleship USS Utah was steaming away from Mexico with a load of refugees when it received orders to intercept and seize a shipment of arms believed to be on board the German merchant ship USS Iguanaga. Upon Utah's arrival in Veracruz, Mexico, it was soon learned that the shipment of arms had already been delivered to the Mexican revolutionary leader, Victoriano Huerta. The U.S. government suspected that the shipment was being held in the customs house in the center of Veracruz. On April 21st, the Utah put 17 officers and 367 enlisted men ashore to capture the customs house. Ensign Foster was a company commander. He led his Marines ashore and into the city under heavy fire. The fighting was extraordinarily fierce for a two-day period. For his heroic deeds in leading and preserving the lives of his men, even at the risk of his own life, he received the Medal of Honor. When the time came for transfer from the USS Utah, Paul F. Foster was approached about joining the ranks of the newly formed naval aviation community. He gave the matter great consideration. However, he opted to remain a black shoe and in fact volunteered for the submarine service. By the start of World War I, he found himself entrenched in the submarine community, preparing for deployment into the North Atlantic. On July 10, 1918, the submarine AL-2 was on routine patrol off the southern coast of England. Lieutenant Paul F. Foster was in command. The AL-2 was torpedoed by a German U-boat and suffered significant damage and flooding. The force of the explosion knocked him to the deck and he suffered a serious back injury. Facing certain loss of his boat and crew, he nevertheless gave the order to engage the enemy. An epic underwater sea battle ensued, which ultimately sent the German U-boat and her crew to a watery grave. The AL-2 surfaced and limped into port. For his bold leadership and incessant pursuit of the enemy, while risking his own life and the life of his crew, he received the Distinguished Service Medal. Forced out of submarine service due to his back injury, Paul F. Foster returned to his surface Navy roots. In January 1927, Lieutenant Commander Foster was stationed on board the USS Trenton, a light cruiser which was in the Caribbean for training and live fire exercises. During the course of one particular live fire exercise, one of the gun turrets on board the Trenton exploded. Alarms were sounded and fire parties hurriedly assembled. Lieutenant Commander Foster was on deck to direct the fire parties and other damage control team members. Smoke was everywhere. Flames were evident in the burning turret. Sailors and officers alike stood for a moment, frozen upon the deck. It certainly must have occurred to many who were there that the powder bags may still be entering the burning turret from below decks. In the remains of the exploded turret could be heard the cries of fallen shipmates. At that very moment, while others were overcome by the natural instinct of self-preservation, Lieutenant Commander Foster grabbed a fireboat and entered the burning turret to rescue his shipmates. For a third time, he took immediate action in complete disregard to his own safety, to do his duty, to what he knew was required of him as an officer and a leader of men. And on this third and final occasion, he escaped from such an experience with his life. For this, he received the Navy Cross. Without doubt, on each of these three occasions, the divine power must have been watching over Paul F. Foster and those whose lives he touched and saved. What would motivate a man to be so selfless? Was it the virtues he learned as a boy? Was it the values instilled in him as a midshipman at the United States Naval Academy? Or just the idealistic thoughts and beliefs of a young naval officer? Was it his humility, his charity, his brotherly kindness, his diligence to duty, or was it simply courage in the face of the greatest of danger? C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Courage is not simply one of the virtues displayed by man, but the form of every virtue at the testing point." For Paul F. Foster, 3 times the ultimate test was given, and 3 times the test was passed. Today's event is somewhat of a family occasion for the Fosters. With the decommissioning of this ship, there will come to an end an era of naval service associated with the name Paul Foster. Vice Admiral Paul F. Foster entered the United States Naval Academy and graduated in 1911. He served on active duty until 1929, at which time he transferred into the reserves. Activated during World War II, he served until he retired from naval service in the year 1946. Just a few years later, his son, my father, Paul L. Foster, was commissioned. Rear Admiral Paul L. Foster, Supply Corps, United States Navy, retired from naval service in June of 1979, having spent 29 years in the naval service. I was commissioned 2 months later in August of 1979, and I retired in June of 1997. From an officer of the line to the Supply Corps and finally to the Judge Advocate General's Corps, perhaps some would say that the family's been on a downward trend. There is a fourth Paul Foster, which probably does not come as a surprise to anyone. My son, Paul James Foster, is the only great-grandson of the family. Perhaps he too will someday be privileged to add his name to this list and serve in the defense of this great nation and its people. You can imagine how long a shadow a man like Paul F. Foster has cast. My appreciation of that grew only as I got older and reached adulthood. I believe that I can speak for myself and my father today in saying that it was a distinct privilege to have been associated by name with such a great American. And as naval officers, it was a great honor for us to carry the Foster family tradition on in the naval service. During my career, when I faced difficult decisions and choices, I would picture myself standing in front of my grandfather, being asked to account for what I had done to advance the causes of good in the Navy, and what I had done to promote the values of honor, valor, and service. I believe that Admiral Foster's accomplishment and sterling examples has, through the years, inspired many naval officers and sailors to exercise the utmost dedication to duty, honesty, and integrity in their daily lives. Finally, my comments would not be complete today without giving honor and paying respect to the officers and sailors who, through the years, have served on board the USS Paul F. Foster. As I understand it, for the last 2 days, there's been a reunion here in Everett, Washington, for those who have previously served on board Foster. Many of you are here today in attendance. Through the ship's years of service, the reputation of the Foster and her crew has been outstanding. During her lifetime, the Foster deployed 13 times. Her mission: provide safety and security for our nation, be a peacekeeper to the world, and then, when relieved, return with honor. Families sacrificed and did without a parent, a child, a sibling, or a spouse for a time. In their absence, tears were often shed by a child who laid in bed wondering when mommy would come home, by a wife as she would lead her children in prayer, asking God for the safe return of her husband. Yet each time the Foster hit that inbound channel, and with the first glimpse of the ship, families waiting on the pier somehow willingly accepted the full price of the journey. The broken down cars, the sleepless nights, the loneliness, etc., all faded into memory. And why? Because down the brow and to the pier would walk men and women who stood a little taller, who were a little wiser, and who understood beyond a shadow of a doubt that their most prized possessions were their family and their freedom. If my grandfather were here today, he would look directly into the eyes of every person who has ever served on board the USS Paul F. Foster, and he would express his genuine appreciation to them for upholding the finest traditions of naval service in his name. The United States of America is a choice land above all other lands. Its constitution and form of government have no equal. Many believe, as I do, that our founding fathers were inspired from on high in the formation of this great nation. Today, more than ever, in the face of those who have come to our shores and through acts of terrorism tried to shake the very foundations of world freedom, we need men, women, and families who are willing to serve and sacrifice. Thankfully, these are the very kinds of people we already find as part of the United States Navy family today. To the officers and crew of the Foster, I wish you fair winds and following seas as you proceed to your new assignments. With the decommissioning of the USS Paul F. Foster, DD 964, we close yet another chapter in naval history. May we always remember, though, and live by the words found in the ship's motto: honor, valor, and service. May God bless us all, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a distinct privilege to introduce the first commanding officer of USS Paul F. Foster, Captain George Sullivan, United States Navy, retired.
Good morning. I didn't have to wear these glasses at commissioning. Officers and crew of the Paul F. Foster, flank owners, and all former crew members of this great ship, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Captain Jagger, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I promise I will not speak too long. And if everybody holds their applause, maybe I'll finish soon. I too want to congratulate Captain Nygaard and his marvelous crew for winning the Battle of Efficiency E. That is quite an achievement considering the schedule that Foster had in the year 2002. Many of us followed your deployment, including your very successful visits to India and China. I would like to make a few points for the record today. First, I ask all flank owners to stand. We can't applaud them yet. That is a super group of people. The commissioning crew of the Paul F. Foster came together in 1974. That was the beginning of the gathering. We were split between two primary sites, with the majority of the crew in San Diego and a small contingent in Pascagoula. We also had combat systems people in Culver City and engineers in Great Lakes. However, as time went on, the numbers in Pascagoula grew, much to the chagrin of the fleet introduction team and the superintendent of shipbuilding. We took on the name the low-profile crew, but that turned out to be an oxymoron. We will not get into sea stories at this point. We'll save those for the party tonight. But we did have a lot of good times at Pre-Con, both in San Diego and in Pascagoula. And we accomplished a great deal. We accomplished more once the ship was commissioned. I would like to hit on some of the significant events in Foster's early life. The program has a couple of them, and when I read the program this morning, the command history, I found that my memory had not completely gone, so that was good to see. But Foster, many of you don't realize, became the baseline ship of this class, of the Spruance class. And why that happened was because there was an accident in the shipyard in 1975, weeks before Spruance was supposed to commission. The dry dock that Ingalls used to move the ships from the water to the land came apart while they were launching Spruance after she had been dry docked for some grooming. And Spruance fell in the dry dock and crushed the screw, damaged the shaft, and they weren't sure whether the power train was also damaged. As a result of that, after they repaired Spruance, they weren't quite sure whether all the characteristics that had been designed into the ship would be the same as before the incident occurred. So the Navy and Ingalls elected to make the baseline ship of the class the Paul Foster. So when we did our testing after we went into commission, and by the way, sailed right by here one early morning. I think it was 4 o'clock in the morning. We came by here at 25 knots heading south to a testing range. That testing became the baseline for the class. I was extremely impressed with all of the tests. The ship performed magnificently in each area. And we were also the first ship to come out here on the West Coast. And that was always planned, that Forster would be out here. But it wasn't planned that Forster would come to the West Coast immediately after commissioning. It was planned for us to spend 6 months, 6 to 8 months, I should say, on the East Coast. We were going to do shakedown on the East Coast, which included stops at Charleston for ammo, and Norfolk, get out of the tongue of the ocean for testing, Guantanamo Bay for refresher training, back to Pascagoula for post-shakedown availability, and then about 6 or 8 months, whatever that took, we were going to get to San Diego. Well, to me, that was a non-starter. And so when I found out about this in the beginning of 1975, I started to work the problem. And unfortunately, we didn't really get to know that we were not going to do the East Coast until about 2 weeks before we went into commission. So we had plans to go both ways. But we did, I got to tell you one story. We did order the ammunition. We ordered the ammunition from Charleston, and we were going to pick it up when we got there. Well, I don't know whether we checked the wrong block or Charleston read the requisition wrong, but one day, about 10 days before we were to go in commission, the then Lieutenant Gray, Weber's officer, came into my cabin and said, "Captain, you won't believe this." Well, there were a lot of things that we went through that we wouldn't believe during the course of the building of the ship, but this was a great one. He said, "We got one truck sitting on the pier full of 5-inch ammunition and pyrotechnics, and another one parked at the gate, ready to come in." Well, anybody knows that a shipyard is not supposed to have any ammunition in it whatsoever. A call to the safety officer where I told him to please sit and we would discuss this, got the truck removed, and everything went fine. In the course of the time when we got out here to the West Coast, we had well over 200 VIPs visit the ship. Everybody wanted to see the first of the class to be out here. The other thing we did was we operated routinely at sea with H-3 helicopters. And that was just a great thing to have on board. A dipping sonar, plenty of on-station time, and it was really fun to do ASW with that kind of an airborne platform. We also developed the wind envelopes for that helicopter, and one day, as I recall, we did 173 takeoff and landings on the flight deck that you're sitting on, in qualifying the pilots to fly with us both day and night. We also, as the program indicates in the command history, landed an H-26 on here. We were the first destroyer or cruiser to do that. And once we got the aircraft on board, I went back after the bridge, and I looked at it, and I looked at the hangar, and I said, "I think we can hang that bird." So we folded the wings and rolled it in the hangar. And that gave the ship class a lot more logistics support, easier to handle, faster. Certainly personnel evolutions by Hilo, when an H-46 came, were much easier to land them than bring them down on a wire. We also were the first of the class to do the nuclear weapons inspection. And there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went through that evolution. Fortunately, the ASROC handling system that we had aboard at commissioning is history. And today vertical launch is what you have. And Captain, I have to tell you that you have a shock on the starboard bow that no other ship of the class has. And you can thank a bosun mate sitting down there in the audience by the name of John Eichhorn for that shock. I'm not sure that the 30th ship of the class had all its jocks. But most of the significant things that the Forster crew accomplished for the Spruance class was the documentation of problems. It made no sense to continually build the same problems into what was to become 31 ships in this class. Not only were problems documented, but recommendations were made to fix them. For this reason, each ship of the class was an improvement over the last. As has been mentioned, Decommissioning Day can be a sad day, but it can also be a very satisfying day. So let's consider a few of the facts. In the late 60s, when the Spruance class was being designed and the mission statement was written, anti-submarine warfare was at the top of the list. The Soviet Union existed, and the Soviet Navy had over 500 submarines. The new Soviet subs that were coming out were quiet. The surface Navy had its work cut out for it, if it were to be relevant in anti-submarine warfare. And so when Forster put to sea, she was the most capable ASW ship in the world, and the quietest on the surface. That quietness helped increase our sonar detection ranges markedly. We could now routinely detect submarines in excess of 10 miles. With the significant addition of the large flight deck, these ships could employ 2 ASW helos with weapons that far exceeded our organic delivery capability, but complemented our enhanced detection ranges. Forster and all the ships of the class were a formidable threat to submarines. During the past 27 years, the Soviet Union has ceased to exist. Today, the Russian Navy has few operating submarines, and the U.S. does not have an ocean-open blue water submarine threat to our sea lanes. While I am not suggesting that the Paul Forster was the primary reason for the demise of the Soviet Union, she most definitely was a part of the military and economic strength of this country that won the Cold War. On this March day in 2003, all the men and women that have served in Forster can be proud to take that mission statement and stamp it mission accomplished. All of the speeches that were delivered on the commissioning day, February 27, 1976 in Pascagoula, have pretty much been forgotten. I don't remember what I said, but it was undoubtedly eloquent. But I do remember the invocation that was delivered by Lieutenant Commander Ed McMahon, Chaplain Corps, United States Navy, for it has hung on our wall at home for 27 years. I would like to share that invocation with you. Dear Father in heaven, many men and many ships have gone to sea. Some have sailed for conquest. Others have unleashed new worlds. The officers and men of the USS Paul Forster stand as you have created them. With blood from Europe, Asia, Africa, the islands, and the continents. Their colors are different. Their prayers are different. Their accents are different. But one quality is immutable. They are free. Believe that all men are created equally and that all share the 4 freedoms. This Navy seeks no conquest other than peace. and freedom that you have promised. Therefore, on this day, upon this ship, letting new Easter dawn, commission a new vessel of freedom. The world can say, there is hope, there is freedom, there will be tomorrow, a tomorrow. Here comes the Boston. Now, 27 years later, all that sailed in her can proudly say, mission accomplished. God bless all of you, and God bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, Commander John C. Nygaard, Commanding Officer, USS Paul F. Foster.
Good morning. This is, I think you, those of you who've been around Everett for the past few months have seen at least one decommissioning. If you've been here for a year, you've seen two. And they're generally a kind of a solemn, can be sad event. But this one, we intentionally not making it that way. Fortunately, this ship's going on to a second life. I think we will address some of that. However, the ship is decommissioning, not the crew, not what this crew has impacted in individuals, and that's what we're about today. So I want to thank everybody for coming to this significant event, and we have heard about who Paula Foster was. Paul, thank you very much for that. That was interesting because we go through a ship's life, 27 years, and it doesn't stay with us, all that kind of detail, and we're grateful. You really kind of took us by surprise with some really good heritage that wasn't with us. And Captain, thank you very much for the good early stories. And I gotta tell you, it kept happening. It's something about this ship. And I had dinner last night with the previous COs, and it's just something about this ship, and I am honored. This is a different kind of decommissioning. This is about celebrating, and this is about a little bit more festive. And I think you see around you a little bit more energy, a little bit more juice that's going to go back out into the fleet and kick some butt. Now, we talked about who Paul Foster is. I need you to know that this is also my change of command ceremony, my end of command ceremony. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about who Paul Foster is right now and what we've done. And I'm going to do it. You know, I wrote the 45-minute speech, and I know I'll have everybody pins and needles. You'll be solely focused on it. But no, But when I was talking to Steve Shenego, and he was mentioning all what he calls call classics, the captain's calls on board, talking to the crew, telling them what's going on, but talking to them, talking directly to them. So I'm going to use this as some guidance. We're going to get the show on the road, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to hit the high points, and I'm going to fly through and tell you about this ship. And it is about decommissioning the ship, not the crew. And all of us have a first ship. For a lot of people on board, it is your first ship. There's something about that first ship that sets you apart, or that sets apart your other places you've been in your career. And those are some things that you've learned along the way. We are sending off crew members with the tools to rule. These tools include work ethic, teamwork, and leadership. The decom process can be disheartening. It is counter to the most prized leadership tools that we have, which is ownership and empowerment. And for the leadership to say, hey, go decommission this thing, it is emotional. However, we have used this to our advantage. Up until the very end, we had to realize that and because fortunately we are delivering this ship to Port Hueneme in operating order with repair lockers that are trained and qualified with watchmakers throughout the ship, we have spent the extra money. We have made sure that things are fixed to the end. You have 6 fire pumps. I got 1 down. Why do I need to get it fixed? Because I need crew members thinking and following through everything up until the end. And we're very fortunate to be able to do that. We absolutely blew off the decom process, the POAM, until we got back from deployment. There's no way a ship is going to go off and have the kind of deployment we had. We joined 3 different battle groups. I'm going to mention some of the specifics, but you know, without Com2X, without a Fleet X, and go join 3 different battle groups and hang, and we did. And we did, but we could not, we were not allowed, crew members were not allowed to use the term decommission. And it was funny because the Master Chief and the XO were very forward thinking and planning ahead, kind of pulling their hair out, because no, we're not doing that, we don't have time to do that, there'll be time when we get back after a stand down. And we did that, and I'm grateful for the patience to let us do it that way, and it's paid off. I think some big dividends for us. Let me tell you about my year in command. I will have 12 months or 13 months in command. It's been an amazing tour. After having been on staffs where you see and experience lots of other deployments, this is the greatest deployment I've ever heard of. Being on 7 Fleet staff and SINCPAC Fleet staff and Desron staff, it's amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. It started, the ship had gotten back from deployment, from a previous deployment in June of '01. So we went through an SRA, and then I took it in February '02. In January '02, we had started at IDTC. Okay, IDTC. And Cindy, here comes an acronym. He's going to throw something at me. IDTC is the interdeployment training cycle. An interdeployment training cycle is a process a ship goes through before it goes before it deploys. And in other words, we have to prove to our superiors that we can operate safely, defend ourselves, and project power both independently and with large aircraft carrier battle groups. That requires a very extensive workup cycle. Our schedule got bounced around a little bit, but we jumped into a very hectic training cycle that was accelerated and compressed. And CMTQ is the Cruise Missile Tactical Qual. We had 2 cruise missiles on board. We need to be able to shoot NSFS, Naval Surface Fire Support, ASW, a lost art in some cases, but had a lot of time and a lot of experience and some real talent on board. We spent a lot of time doing that. You know, our brothers in Aegis ships sometimes get a little bit focused in the Aegis world and air warfare world. Thankfully, we're able to focus on some straight stick heritage surface warfare like ASW, and we did that quite a bit. Navigation check ride. The navigation team did a super job, set the standard in Puget Sound for the era on how to do navigation. E-cert, which is engineering certification. Everything went well there. But the op tempo. Let me tell you about the op tempo. Again, accelerated IDTC. Then we had an accelerated deployment. Found out that, okay, the ship's going to decommission, and we knew for a long time the ship was going to decommission in March of '03. Now we got to get one more deployment in. The ship wasn't scheduled to deploy. We were originally supposed to deploy with the Carl Vincent battle group. Well, Fife and Paula Foster needed to get 2 more deployments because of some scheduling priorities. So one of us was going to go to counter-drug operations south, and one was going to go on Western Pacific, and Paula Foster was selected to go to the Western Pacific, and I felt honored, and I was proud, and I was glad that we were able to do that. We left on 17th of June. What remained, we did a group sail with Desron 9. We were Desron 9 flagship. Then we went to Portland Rose Festival. We were flagship there. We were committed to the RIM packet. We kept that in the schedule, and we were scheduled all along to go to Straits of Malacca, which is the connection between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, where there was some issues, Operation Enduring Freedom. There were some vulnerable areas there that we were set to do. But let me tell you about the op tempo of 2002. We spent 262 days underway in 2002. That's an op tempo of 72%. That's huge. That's big, and that was stressful. That was very stressful. But we did not get a palm. It didn't fit. We didn't have time to do a palm. What did we do? We did our own palm. And this is just one of the many things that we did between the XO and the Command Master Chief. Came up with an innovative, taking a fraction of the crew, cut them, those that wanted to go and needed to go take care of things on a transit to Hawaii, actually through Portland Rose Festival, one section, then to Hawaii, and part of RIMPAC. And there was another 2 parts of RIMPAC where we were able to send people home and take care of things they needed to before the deployment. So it was very successful, and I'm grateful for some of that innovative work that happened to make sure that the people were able to take care of things back on the home front. RIMPAC was very successful for us. That's what we started off, and I'm going to just hit some of the high points of deployment. RIMPAC, we had the most ASW time of all the players during RIMPAC. RIMPAC is a Pacific Rim exercise where countries from all around the Pacific Rim participated. We rescued a fallen shipmate off of the Port Royal. Port Royal had a man overboard at night, had a stricken rib, could not get to put their boat in the water. We did, and we picked them up in pretty record time. But it was nicely done, nicely executed, and it was just the beginning of a series of successes on deployment. We operated in Operation Known Warrior, where we had special warfare communities, SEALs coming aboard, doing things on destroyers that they historically haven't done very much. We wrote a TAC memo about it, and use your imagination, but we did some things there that will go down in history, and we've documented it. Let me tell you a little bit about India. I have 2 flags flying back here we got from those countries while we were there. Malabar is a bilateral event with India. It had been done for 6 years. In 1998, India violated a nuclear test ban treaty, and we had boycotted doing bilateral exercises with them. Post 9/11, the initiative with the president was actually to let's get countries together, the major powers together, and unite in the war on terrorism. And we had put away mistakes of the past and wanted to proceed ahead with diplomacy. Paula Foss was selected with the Chancellorsville to go to India and do the first such exercise since 1996, and that was an awesome event. It was a big event. It wasn't the best liberty. The crew, I gotta tell you, you'll hear me mention more things about the crew, and I'm grateful, but the crew was awesome every single time. And we went to some great port visits, my God, Hong Kong, and you heard us talk about Thailand, you heard us talk about Bali, but coaching India was not the best port visit we went to, but they hung tight, and their diplomatic skills are incredible. But we had a great time there, and I'm grateful to the crew for that. Analex, and if you remember some information about Kitty Hawk had gone through some extreme changes of personnel in our upper leadership, and they had to do some shakedown work. The new CO of the Kitty Hawk is a friend of mine. We got pulled in by 7th Fleet to be part of the augment that forward deployed naval force. And it was an amazing experience for us. You see in the back of the program one such picture taken without a telephoto. We did some 2 flight deck cycles alongside doing a refueling with the Kitty Hawk, and that was just part of shakedown. It was part of a mentality of just do stuff. When in doubt, do it, make it happen, follow through, and it was a neat event. Let me tell you a little bit about China. There's no way to tell you a little bit about China. To be selected as the unit to be the first American warship, ship of any kind, to go to mainland Communist China after the EP-3 incident was just phenomenal. And I do happen to know that this Impact Fleet, or Admiral Doran, or Compact Fleet, and U.S. Impact, Admiral Fargo had a discussion about Foster. Can they go alone? Can they go without flag chaperone? Can they go do this mission? there was a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things, operational things on the plate out there, and we were selected to go. And it was based on a few things that I'll mention. But it was amazing. A lot of things that happened there was just mind-boggling. Dealing with the 3-star, the commander of the third of their third fleet was amazing. Just in one little quick thing, for those who mentioned in the Cold War, to go to a museum and go and tour OSAs and silkworms and MiGs and all this hardware, all this military hardware that we've been trained to defeat. I mean, it's right there. We're walking around along all this hardware, and it was phenomenal. I mean, we were making history, and it was neat, very neat. And to have crew members that jump on a plane and go to Beijing and go to the Great Wall of China was just the pinnacle. And they didn't really know until coming back how significant it was when they sit at the laundromat and talk to crew members from other ships, just what they did on deployment. But it was an amazing experience, and it really helped well. One thing I want to mention, I'm going to start mentioning some people, but one of the things that was really neat was, again, we did this without COM2X, without Fleet X, we did some medevacs, we did some things. NBC News in my hometown is actually running a series that we're writing, the Journal of the Crews, and that's available, link it to our website. But I want to mention Chief Simpson, raise your hand. He did some amazing things with the website, and throughout deployment, this is the one thing when we talk about chat. Commodore and I have talked about chat and new technology out there, the advantages and disadvantages. But the ability for a family to go to an internet cafe if they don't have a computer, and once a week, and to come in and visit us, and to come see, because we had a very active program of going around the ship. You know, so nothing, if there wasn't anything that happened specifically, then you know what, we'll just go around and take pictures in the ship. And to have the families come aboard during the meal and just see what we did today. That ability in a target audience for our website was not the general public, but was families and friends. And it was very neat, it was a big payoff, and I got some very amazing mail, very heartening mail, and very, very nice mail from a lot of people, a lot of family and friends about that website, what we were able to do. It's still active. We're going to keep it active for a while, but please take a look. You'll get a kick out of it. It's also got a link to the Journal of the Crews on NBC website. All right, let me hit one of the things, one of the data points that's significant. I talked about op tempo. I talked about some of the operations we were in. Let me touch base on our port visits. This was, Great White Fleet stuff. Go off to this country and make friends, that sort of thing. But we hit Hawaii 3 times, Bali, Indonesia. Bali, Indonesia, we were the last one to go there. Because nobody's going there anymore after that terrorist attack. But we went for a week before the terrorist attack. And our hangout was around 0. We wanted to hang out. So that was kind of an awakening, force protection, and things with the crew. Thailand twice, Singapore 3 times, Cochin, India, Hong Kong, China, Okinawa, Japan, Qingdao, China, coast of Japan. I mentioned all these countries. That was 15 port visits, 8 countries. No liberty incidents. 0 liberty incidents. And that's not, oh my God, crazy sailors running around. That's a lot of war business, and that's a lot of countries, and that's a lot of diplomacy. The crew was awesome. And the crew was unbelievable. And it doesn't just happen. We had a couple more of that. That doesn't just happen by accident. I want to, it's about making stuff happen, it's about talking to the crew, about making sure everybody understands the significance of diplomacy and how important it is to be able to project power, but also be able to be a diplomat and make an impact for your country as an implement of foreign policy. It's about true accountability. Let me tell you something about this kind of leadership concept. It is about accountability. And it's about, if someone makes a mistake, it's not between me and that sailor. It's about me and that chain of command. And holding that chain of command accountable. Holding the chief accountable. What did he do? He didn't do it. But you know what? You can see it, you can predict. If you know what's going on, you can predict better and keep up with it. And I'm grateful. We had a really good chief's mess, and I was the leader of the command master chief. But some good things happened. But I had the flexibility to push and to make some statements, and it was big payoff, and I'm grateful. We had a buddy system that was checked and balanced and made sure there wasn't, that work and leadership was involved. There was some skepticism. I remember going to Commonwealth Westpac and getting a brief after brief after brief after the Admiral, knowing that, God, we've made it this far, it's our turn, we're going to be the next one that screws up. It's just the odds. The odds are in our favor to mess up. And it didn't happen, and it was really nice for him to turn it into Bravo Zulus and just be sending out some nice things for us. I made a bet with a Port Ops officer in Okinawa, trust the LDO, to ensure that our crew was going to get in trouble with that establishment out base, because everybody else had. And I made the bet, and she lost. And she was very upfront about that, and it was actually a big success. A couple of phrases that we used on deployment: can do, will do. We got a reputation as a can do, will do on deployment, which was me leading from the front, being around, knowing the lay of the land. If you sailors are out on liberty, that let's get the leadership out with a presence. It worked. It just worked, and it made things happen. American muscle, ready for tasking, and that was how we ended all message traffic. It was a neat ability to just say it. What do we really mean? What we mean is American muscle, ready for tasking. What do you want? We'll do it when we're ready to go. The battle, okay? We're leaving on our terms. And that is the greatest thing that we're able to do as a ship, all about successes. And it's very neat, and again, the crew. I got some stories, little sea stories that I'm just going to, 2 sentences. I had ETs, electronics technicians, down working with the engineers, doing solid state repairs, what we call micro miniature repair. We kept getting from the supply system these cards, these solid state cards. I had a 4th engine down for part of a Hedelex. I needed flank 3. I needed 33 knots, and we just couldn't settle for 29 knots. No, not us. And that was a neat thing to have them to hear that 4th engine come online and to be able to throw the rooster tail around the way we need to. Sprint drift and catch it in a submarine at 33 knots is something that is a tactical significant. Speed is life. All right, let me see. The crew has been incredible, big hearts and charity. And let me tell you about that. Combined federal campaign during last year, $25,000, neighborly $10,000. I mean, this is a contribution to local affiliated charity. But a really nice job. Comrel, let me tell you about Comrel. Comrel is short for Community Relations Projects when we pull into foreign ports. I was astounded at the you ask for volunteers, and sometimes you got to push a little harder. There was no pushing. They just showed up. I didn't get it right away, until you go on these things and realize that it's an ability for a crew member to come ashore, work with children, and work with families, and to be a little bit closer to home. And I was impressed with that, and the crew was awesome there. CMC Rule, Command Master Chief, she's been a Command Master Chief for the last 2 deployments. She's a tender sailor, so when I saw that in her bio, I was like, yeah, right. We'll see what happens with that. I know, fat ships and tender sailors or something. Okay, I'm a little skeptical about, but she blew me away. She did a great job. She's a champion of the crew. So I'm going to talk about a couple other things. We're on that note.
Master Chief David Front Center. The Meritorious Service Medal is awarded to Command Master Chief Surface Warfare Laurel M. Davis, United States Navy, for outstanding meritorious service while serving as Command Master Chief USS Paul F. Foster from June 2000 to December 2002. Master Chief Petty Officer Davis consistently performed her demanding duties in an exemplary and highly professional manner. Her superior initiative, dedication, and untiring tenacity resulted in the advancement of morale, welfare, and the overall quality of life and quality of service of her crew. She fostered and energized a cooperative command environment that saw the completion of 2 major deployments in separate theaters, each with extraordinary results. Her innovative ideas and dynamic approach to the retention program helped influence and retain outstanding sailors that significantly contributed to the superior track record of Paul F. Foster. A brilliant administrator and motivator, she revamped the Enlisted Surface Warfare Specialist program and modeled team lectures and study sessions and consequently achieved 100% qualification. She engineered a command liberty risk program that allowed Paul F. Foster to conduct 24 visits in 12 countries with 0 liberty incidents and unparalleled accomplishment. The unparalleled successes of Paul F. Foster can be attributed to her inspiration and leadership. By her exceptional professional ability, personal initiative, and total dedication to duty, Master Chief Petty Officer Davis reflected great credit upon herself and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service.
Pretty good for a tenured sailor. All right, let me jump into some things. Let me talk about the wardroom. Wardroom has been awesome. Some great things happen there. And it's tough because we were talking about this last night. The wardroom, here they are making progress, getting their warfare devices, getting their scroll pins, and this is the time when they should be maturing as the seasoned veterans on board and getting their way around, and that's kind of been taken away from them. That's one of the disadvantages of this. But in the same process, there's 26 members of the wardroom going to go out and do well and kick butt, and thank you for that. We'll spend some more time talking about that. The department heads, I'm grateful. They did really good. The goal here was the department heads running things. It's your department. Take it, do what you need to do. And that was, you're leaving here with a big tool bag. And there's a lot of tools in it. Make sure you're using all of them. Don't forget all of them. XOs, Scott and Steve, you guys are awesome. You guys, I appreciate your guts just saying, hey, Captain, sure you want to do this. And thanks very much for your camaraderie and support. The Chiefs, let me tell you about the Chiefs Fest a little bit. And thanks for the ability to come in, kick the door down, and walk in and have a chat with you all. I do appreciate that. We had a very good Chiefs Fest, very young Chiefs Fest. We went through some growing pains, but it all worked out great. In 2 cycles, we selected 18 chiefs. That's huge. That's a big number. That's where the young Chiefs Fest comes from. But it was a neat time. There was a time when somebody made chief and they left because now he's wearing khaki. We don't do that anymore. So that was tough for some of the new chiefs to break into the now you're chief, now you're senior as a chief, and it worked out well. Supply department, the reception. They're going to go off the ship and join us on the reception. Supply department rules. They've been taking care of us. They've been doing really well, and I appreciate that. Ops department, you guys been doing everything from radio to navigation to everything. You guys have been doing really good. Engineers rule. Let me tell you about the trip. Pulling into San Francisco, going through some heavy seas, and calling up down in engineering when you hear can the engineers get everything work right, taking that kind of roll, occasional couple close to 30-degree rolls. Can that happen? Is that supposed to happen? And I call down there every time, everything was solved. Now, I want to take some time. I got a stack of cool stuff to get out, and I want to say thanks to some people in the audience. I want to start with up here. So I'm going to start with Commodore Yoshihara, and I'm going to keep calling you Commodore forever, almost ever. But I want to give something to you, but I want to thank you, Commodore, for the support and a great reputation for letting us command, letting commanding officers command, letting us do it, and your advice and your insight from just a stupid email. You just knew. You knew. Like, I don't know how, but you just had a really good connection, and I appreciate that. Lieutenant Commander Paul Foster, please join me. I have a nice, I'll say nice, you also do it. Mr. Robert Foster. A gracious gentleman. I enjoyed spending time with him, and just kept beating me to my wife's car door. And it just couldn't, it really, just quite a gracious gentleman. I enjoyed your friendship. All right, now we're going to jump around the line. So the Vicki Olsen. Now, let me talk about Vicki. Come on up, Vicki. Vicki Olsen is the ombudsman. Ombudsman, okay? Ombudsman is the representative to the captain for the families. And she was awesome throughout the deployment. Like most of us, Petty Officer Olsen married way out of his league. And it was, thank you very much for everything. Wendy, the troublemaker. Wendy is the president of the Family Support Group. Wendy. And she's been awesome. She's a Family Support Group. You have, sometimes you have Family Support Group, sometimes you don't. But totally connected with Ombudsman, Master Chief, knew what was going on all the time, kept us informed. She was great. But she's also a babysitter from heaven. She's really, really very nice. Yoshihara. I'm not going to surprise with this one. Come on up, please. Now, the Commodore has been out globetrotting and enjoying, actually been away a lot. But everything, anytime, anywhere, it was pretty neat. Actually, it was the first time my wife was ever called a cow. But that stood for commanding officer's wife. That was pretty neat when she first came aboard. But it was really neat, and she's very friendly, and she's always been very supportive of us, and we are grateful. And I have to explain this one to you. I made this. And I was stationed in Japan, 7th Fleet Staff, and worked in Yokohama at a school of bonsai. I studied under a sensei for a couple of years. And this is, Susan, my neighbor, was good enough to take care of this on deployment, and it survived. And so I would like to leave it with Chucky. Now, Alan Funk, please come on up. I know I'm going to surprise him. Now, let me tell you about Alan. And this, I'm recognizing people that have supported the ship, almost everybody. I mean, I can't get everybody, but Alan I met. Alan is the chairman and the chief editor. Is that close enough? He is the Herald, the Everett Herald. and I met him, and he has been amazingly supportive of the Navy. You know, not just Foster. We called up and said, hey, we're going to go out for our family day cruise. We're going to go do something. Can we, a reporter, a photographer, photojournalist, want to go with us? Boom, they were on the pier. They showed up. They put us on the front page. You know, they've got reporters on the Lincoln right now, reporting daily. It's impressive, and I got to tell you, I'm grateful for it on behalf of the Navy on how well you've taken care of the ships and how nice it is for the families to read in the paper about their ship. So I'm grateful. Captain Squires, please. This is the base CO. Please, sir, come up. He's a brown shoe. I mean, he's a non-black shoe, and he just does, you know. And we don't have to remind him all the time that the base is here to support the ships. He's all over that, and he's been a great support to the ships. And we are grateful for everything, and for you being able to almost control base security. And Admiral Herring, of course, sir. What else related? Thanks, Admiral, for your support. It's been neat. I remember making an office call when we went and did our availability, training availability in San Diego, and I called up the Admiral. He was the base CO down in San Diego, and it was neat to be able to talk to him. It's neat for you to be able to be here. Now, Cindy, my lovely wife. I want to say a few things about Cindy. She has been amazing support. Our schedule has been hard, and my God, this is her first deployment as a wife, and she had our baby on deployment. Oh my God, you know, and so she took it by storm and was awesome, and I'm grateful, babe. You have been amazing. You're beautiful, and you make beautiful babies. So, please. Now I got a couple of things to give out, a piece of the ship to some of the COs that have been here. Some of the bridge wing wood that I'm going to give to some of the, so it's at least something to go on the manual to talk about, but piece of the ship, the legacy lives on. Again, we're going to go be a test ship in Port Hueneme on the second life, and it's neat to be able to follow through with that. Admiral Lockhart. Captain Conrad. Captain Ahern. Captain Buick. Captain Reese. Where is she? The real Captain Reese, come on. Kara's husband, who I believe is Captain Lang Reese, who's on the Kitty Hawk right now. Kitty Hawk. He wants to be on the Kitty Hawk. He's the reactor officer on the Abraham Lincoln. And he called us last night to say hello from where he was. And in fact, I think that the Discovery Channel or something is doing a special on nuclear power at sea in the Persian Gulf. And he was telling us he was getting ready to go do that. So you'll be seeing him. Big guy with blonde hair. So you'll be able to see that. I want to recognize Rear Admiral Select Sonny Masso. Sir, come on up. I got something for you. He's a former crew member, but he just found out, maybe we're not supposed to know, that he made flag, but I gotta give him his first flag hat that I bought him. And while we're on giving away flag ball caps, I have two more. I am grateful for making, assisting, and for everyone allowing Paula Foster to lead in style on our own terms, accomplishing everything we wanted to, and it was pretty amazing. We're going to have a social out after this on the pier, but I am grateful, and let's stay in touch. Okay, I got two more. Then we're not on the list. Captain Stride. So, okay. Sorry, I'm going through the list, and Captain Sullivan, but I heard he already took like half the bridge away. I will now read my orders.
Ship's Company, and please rise for the reading of the orders.
From Chief of Naval Personnel to Commander John Charles Nygaard, Buford's Order 1651, when directed by Reporting Senior Detached, March 2003, and report to Commander Cruiser Destroyer Group 12 as Assistant Chief of Staff for Operations. Signed, S.J. Tomaseski, Rear Admiral, Deputy Chief Naval Personnel. Okay, two more official correspondence to address the ship and its disposition. Daytime Group 0317, 51 Zulu, April 2002. From Commander Naval Surface Forces Pacific, decommissioning of USS Paula Foster, a fact sheet on USS Paula Foster. Current location, Everett, Washington. Mission, USS Paula Foster is a Screw-class destroyer with a mission of operating independently as a multi-threat offensive platform, including performing strike warfare functions against land targets and/or to screen battle groups, supporting forces and convoys. Provides its own AW, ASUW, and ASW self-defense. Nature of action to decommission USS Paula Foster on 29 March 2003. Again, Daytime Group 201739 Zulu, June 2002, from Casino, Washington, D.C. Decommissioning USS Paula Foster 8964. Background. Since activation in 1994, the self-defense test ship has played an increasing important role in the testing, evaluation of future sensors, weapons, and combat systems. The existing self-defense test ship, Explicator, will be unable to meet any of the pending test requirements due to space, weight, and power and hull age limitations. USS Paula Foster has been identified as a self-defense test ship follow on based on consideration, in particular, the robust Paula Foster all-electric plant configuration. The following provides disposition instructions for Paula Foster. 4. Combat Surface. Conduct hot plant turnover, D964 to NAVC Hueneme Division. Naval
Chief Engineer, front and center. The Chief Engineer will turn over the ignition keys to the commanding officer. Commander Nygaard will report completion upon turnover to Commander Naval Surface Warfare Center Northwest. Reverend Karen.
Let me add something here. We were trying to keep these keys away from the Admiral, but he's now got his own throat, so he can do with it as he wishes. But we have to be in Port Hueneme on the 29th of March, sir.
Will the guest official party please take their seats? The Command Senior Chief Keith Richardson will now present Commander Nygaard with Paul Foster's commissioning pendant. Commissioning pendant is contained within a shadow box. Included in the shadow box is a flag which was flown over Paul F. Foster on the 11th of September 2002, the first anniversary of 9/11. The shadow box was made by our own damage control chief, Falcons. I'd also like to ask Nikki Olson, the ombudsman, to come forward for a presentation, please.
I'm going to speak down here. I was an honor and a privilege to work with the CEO, Command Master Chief, the crew of this ship, the family, and the spouses. And it was not just spouses, but I worked with wives, mothers, girlfriends, kids. It was wonderful. I was an honor and privilege to be with kids. And to show my appreciation I have for Captain. It's a pin that says the decommissioning of the USS Paul F. Foster. Ceremony is today, so I put the 14th of March, 2003. And at the same time, I also would like to hand one to Command Master Chief.
Because of the unique nature of the hot turnover and the requirement for the crew to deliver the ship, we will not perform the traditional lowering of the colors. The job of Paul F. Foster and our crew is not yet complete. In place of lowering the colors, we will pass the colors to the commanding officer in a ceremony. This flag that we will pass was also flown over Paul F. Foster on 11 September 2002. Flag bearers, post. I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's Hall of Justice. I fly majestically over great institutions of learning. I stand guard with the greatest military power in the world. For 27 years, I have flown proudly from the mast of the mighty Paul F. Foster. Look up and see me. I stand for peace, honor, truth, and justice. I stand for freedom. I am confident, I am arrogant, I am proud. flown with my fellow banners, my head is held a little higher. My colors are a little truer. Upon the Paul F. Foster, I have stood for honor, valor, service. I bow to no one. I am recognized all over the world. I am worshipped. I am saluted. I am respected. I am revered. I am loved. I am feared. For more than 200 years, I have fought in every battle of every war. Gettysburg, Shiloh, Appomattox, San Juan Hill, Veracruz, Anzio, Rome, the beaches of Normandy. Pearl Harbor, Midway, Guadalcanal, Leyte Gulf, Okinawa, Korea, Vietnam, and in the heat of the Persian Gulf. I flew high upon the Paul F. Foster as she fired her tomahawks during the Gulf War. And as she patrolled the waters of the Indian Ocean, the South China Sea, Sea of Japan, the Straits of Hormuz and Malacca, Taiwan, and Tsushima, long forgotten by all but those who were there with me. I was there. I led my sailors and Marines. I followed them. I watched over them. They loved me. I was on a small hill on Iwo Jima. I was dirty, battle-worn, and tired. But my sailors and Marines cheered me. I was proud. I have been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled on the streets of countries that I have helped to set free. It does not hurt, for I am invincible. I have been soiled, burned, torn and trampled on the streets of my own country. And when it is done by those whom I have served in battle, it hurts. But I shall overcome, for I am strong. I have slipped the surly bonds of earth, and from my vantage point on the moon, I stand watch over the new frontiers of space. I have been the silent witness to all of America's finest hours. I have flown over the top of the World Trade Centers. And after September 11, 2001, I have flown over its rubble to remind the evil in our world that my spirit will not be crushed. The American people will not be broken. But my finest hour comes when I am torn into strips to be used as bandages for my wounded comrades on the field of battle. When I fly half-mast to honor my sailors and Marines. And when I lie in the trembling arms of a grieving mother at the graveside of her fallen son or daughter, I am proud. I am proud to haul down from this great lady, this warship who has stood the watch for 27 years. But rest assured, I will continue to watch over her crew as they go their separate ways. My sons and daughters of the mighty Paul F. Foster. For as the ship transitions to a new role, her crew continues to serve. Yes, each and every sailor will always be a part of a family and will share the bond of honor, valor, and service forged upon the decks of the Paul F. Foster. My name is Old Glory. Long may I wave, dear God. Long may I wave. Flag bearer. Please rise for the benediction and remain standing for retirement of the colors and departure of the crew and the official party. Chaplain Schubert will deliver the benediction. Ship's company,
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing upon all present here today. May the spirit of justice, care, concern, and dedication be the legacy of the men and women of the USS Paul F. Foster. May you continue to be with them as they move on to serve others. May they feel a sense of confidence and assurance when they turn to you in those lonely moments of decision. Guide and direct them always to justice, truth, and the quest for peace may be certain. May they always give honor and praise to your name. We ask for continued blessing on their families, the many individuals who will sacrifice and dedication to show them to be people of compassion, integrity, and courage. We pray, Lord, that as a nation, our strength will be rooted in our commitment to justice and our constant quest for freedom for all your people. May every member of this command continue to be a clear, strong example of commitment to that quest. We ask this in your name. Amen.
retire the colors. Sir, request permission to disembark the crew. Operator, Paul F. Foster, Department. Lieutenant Commander, United States Navy retired, Department. Naval Surface Warfare Center, Department. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Please proceed to the brow on the aft of the missile deck, to the official party receiving line on the pier, and then join us for a reception on the pier. Thank you.